Okie dokie. Hello, YouTube. Let me bring this here. Hi, YouTube. It's just me and you this time. Welcome back to my recap of the 2022 World Cup. I have, I guess, two games to bring you guys. First game is against Kevin Fraley, round 13. And the second game is against none other than Stefan Fatsis, author of Word Freak. Around 14. So, if you're following closely, you know that I'm currently 5-7 after dropping, I think, 4 or 5 games in a row. Many of them to significantly lower rated players, so like all underdogs. And after those those losses, I get paired with none other than Kevin Fraley, who's one of the 10 best players in the field. And he's also not having a great time, apparently, because the pairings are reflective of players that are doing similarly to you in the standings. So yeah, this was a battle of, I guess, 2,000 players that are probably not going to be 2,000 for long. And Kevin's first to act, and he opens with Nebulae. And I'm just like, man, again, like these opening bingos, this is so bad. Um, just like really, is this what I have to face like against Kevin of all people? There's so many people I could face that I'd much rather they open with a bingo against me. But I couldn't come back from John Karas's opening bingo the round before, so it was just like I guess I'm just gonna drop another game. So I had this rack here. I could have played Hour to create the eye hook, but I think I might have made this could be a mistake, to be perfectly honest. But I ended up playing UH for 20, setting up the A column. I could have played underneath as well, but for that to work, I need the word that I draw to start in D. So basically, this seems to create a threat of me being going at A1 and leaves most of the lanes open, and it doesn't give too much back in terms of like um, counterplay. So I thought this was a good decision, but yeah, I could have very well just played Hour, set up the eye hook for Huri, and left the E open to bingo through and hopefully get the double word score. So that's definitely another option. I don't know that I considered it, and I probably should have. This actually seems to be, yeah, it seems to make more sense. The problem with my play is that if I don't bingo next turn, I'm kind of stuck. But after Hour here, I won't necessarily be as stuck. But after 7B, what does it say? 40% bingo instead of 31% bingo. So the idea of trying to bingo immediately is a good one. But yeah, I don't know. I might have played Hour in another life. But the good thing about this play is that I don't have to necessarily use the duh hook immediately. It's definitely feasible to leave it open and get some recursive value from that. So yeah, close between the two, I think. But I'm okay with my play. Um, However, what happens next is not okay. Kevin Bingos again with Piraguas. Um, Actually, I wonder if he had anything. Well, that's not what I meant to do. I wonder if he had anything other than Piraguas, Pagurids and Piraguas. So yeah, had I played Hour, that would have blocked his bingo. So yeah, I'm sort of regretting Hour now that I analyzed the position. Kevin plays Piraguas, bingoing twice in a row. So it was one thing to bingo once to open the game, and then bingoing again. Now he's ahead 116. I was just like, well, I guess my tournament's over. because I drew the Q. Yeah, I drew the Q here, and wait, what happened? I drew the Q and played QI for 37. How is this possible? Oh, hold on a sec. First of all, it seems like Kevin might have overscored his opening play. No, no, it's my fault. It's my fault. He opened with the natural nebulae. I played, and he played, oh, he played Piraguas here. I see. Then I played QI 37. And then he played EKE for 17. And luckily for me, to my DONRS, I drew I blank. So actually able to bingo and make the game a bit closer. So I took the highest scoring bingo after obviously looking for a very long time. Dihedrons is really cool, Nourished is really cool. But I think Dineros is fine. Rosend is also okay. Maybe Rosend is better. I'm gonna give it a little simulation. But I mean, this takes away the scoring spot. So it might be better. The problem is it gives back the S to play from. And based on Kevin's play of EKE, it's probably likely that he's going to be able to use this S. So I don't know. Maybe Rosend is better. But yeah, I play Dineros. He plays Toluene, 28. So luckily he missed. And I draw fix. So actually, at this point, I'm feeling pretty good because I drew the second blank and I'm ahead by 1 point somehow. And yeah. So after a long thought, I think Kevin played Logoi. I got an O to play through to play Flock, but maybe I should have played Delph. I don't think I saw that. Yeah, Delph is probably just a better play. Damn, that's a miss. Why am I just missing these plays? It's 5 more points. I don't know. Block takes away the L as a scoring spot. It also blocks the D. But the problem with Delph is I'm getting rid of my D. Wonder if Self does well. Like if I play Self, I hit the A column ending in D pretty often. This is hilarious. Sacrificing 3 points and getting rid of an S instead of a D is actually worth thinking about in this position. Anyways, Flock might be fine. I don't know. I feel like I just didn't see Delph and I would have played Delph had I seen it. And Kevin's struggling. He plays Auda. And I am able to bingo again. But I don't exactly remember where I bingoed. 645, Brander. So I played Branders. 74. Oh, because he played Auda over here. Man, this has been so long, I don't remember these games. So yeah, here I played Branders for 74 because he played Auda where he played it. Now I'm ahead by 67 points. It's kind of insane. He takes out the scoring spot with Yarn. And I had this really interesting rack. 7 letters, not 8 letters. And I could play Smooch or I could play Joe. So I remember this position and I really didn't know if I should play from the S or just play JO. The reason not to play Smooch is it opens the board, so it might give him bingos from the C, with the H, with the O's, from the M. So I'm really giving him a lot of bingos back. And based on his last few plays, Outa and Yarn specifically, it does seem like he's balancing his rack or trying to balance his rack. And as a result, his rack might be better than average. So I think that if the simulation is telling me these plays are close in a vacuum, because the simulation has no idea whether Kevin's rack is good or bad, it thinks it's totally random. But I think after the last couple plays, Kevin's probably keeping better than average. So yeah, if Joe's doing just as well as Smooch on the sim, I think that I should play Joe. The problem is if I don't play from the S, he might play from the S and give himself even better letters to play with than the MOCH. And I was definitely aware of that, but I figured that it was worth just keeping the scoring stuff. Like MOTCH only has one vowel in it, but I can probably deal very well with openings. Um, so of course he does play from the S, he plays strive, but it could very well have been that if I played smooch, that would have given him an 8-letter word. So I felt totally okay with that. Here I played, wow, there's so many words here that I didn't see. Here I played Havoc, which is actually 5 points down in valuation, but I think it does a pretty good job of uh, controlling the board. And now that the score is close, I either want to be scoring really well or trying to block as best I can. So kimchi comes to mind. I just didn't see that at all. Really cool word to score, and Mythoi scores as well and does block some of the stuff that Strive has opened. But after Havoc, I think that let's put the sim back to normal. After Havoc, okay, Mythoi and Havoc seem to block the most ping. Actually, I have to wait. I have to wait till the simulation gets a bit deeper than this. But they all seem to block similar amounts of bingos. Kimchi blocking all the bingos that fit above the 4 row or above the 5 row, I guess. So it does a good job of controlling that. Mythoi blocking stuff that starts with T or R or has an I in the beginning of the word. And Havoc, although it doesn't necessarily block so much immediately, because it does leave the E open for still 8-letter words. It does take care of the I pretty handily, and after a couple of overlaps, the board's going to be very nicely controlled. So although Havoc isn't simming super well, I'm still kind of a fan of it. I think the idea here is I want to be scoring and also like threatening to block a lot more next turn. I think Havoc does a decent job of that, eliminating the problem of the V being really good at forking the board, sort of cutting the board in two. This V being here makes this E and I quite hard to block simultaneously, but drawing a play that scores through the V ensures that I can then address things, the I and the E at the same time. I mean, the I is already gone, but I can then block the E and the R. So Mythoi, definitely not a play I saw. Kimchi, definitely not a play I saw. There's definitely some value in these plays, but it's possible the Havoc's okay despite it not performing super well because the IMT leave isn't so good either. The AOT and the AC leave are definitely more agreeable in terms of being able to maximize my opportunities to either score or block next turn. C is a good defensive tile, for example. And there's one issue with Havoc is that it creates this kind of hard to hit lane on the 11 row. You have to have an S in sixth position or a K, but there's no Ks left. So yeah, definitely could have improved on this turn, I think. But I did have a plan at least. So here, the Z comes down for Kevin. He scores well. Now he's within striking distance here. He doesn't even need to bingo to win now. So to MIT, I drew RDYS. So after drawing the S, I felt very comfortable, but it was definitely not a given that I would do that. I play YID to block the R, make it a bit harder to play on the O column. Now the T is not going to make a valid word, so YAT rather than AT. So yeah, those are the likeliest bingos on the O column is words ending in ATE or ITE. So YID, of course, being a slur, still playable in NWL18, the dictionary we're using at Word Cup. So I took advantage of its validity, and I think I made the right play. Now Lon comes down. Kevin, he's just trying to score, I think, and remain within striking distance. But I think I had a bit too much firepower with Brits for 30. As long as he doesn't get a bingo ending in like AGE, I should be good here. And he doesn't. He plays Bops for 33. Now he's within 14 with one in the bag. But I drew very nicely, and I had a 14-point lead, and I ended up playing Image at 04, which I think is a good play. It might not be the best play, though. Let's see what Championship Player says. But Image scores well, allows me to go out very often. It's liking M. Not really sure about that. Yeah, I'm not really sure that that's a good play. But Ragtime is very nice. Definitely like to see that. I think Ragtime's probably best because if I draw a V, I can play Dev here. I could play Dev here. If I draw any vowel, I'm probably going out. If I draw an M, I should be okay. Yeah, Ragtime looks pretty good. I played Image. And I drew the what did I draw? I think I drew an A. So Kevin's rack is this. And I was sort of like kind of beyond belief here that I was able to win this game. Because I had just been struggling for the last few games of just to do anything. I mean, obviously I wasn't winning those games, but like I just felt this like severe decline, and then for Kevin to open with two bingos was quite absurd, and I thought that was it. I thought I was just gonna lose, but I fought on, and I tried to make the right moves. There are a few decisions here and there, excuse me, like Flock. I think Joe's right. Havoc, maybe. Few decisions that might not have been so good. I mean, Havoc is the one that really doesn't appear to be correct. But other than that, I think I played okay. I played similarly as I played in the last few games that I lost. Like, not really dropping that much in terms of value for my plays, but just happened to work out because I drew both blanks and I was able to draw some nice racks and I guess get the job done. So I was happy with this loss. Excuse me, happy with this victory. Just so used to losing. And yeah, we'll move on to the next game. So let me just save this. I'm typing, you can't see what I'm doing. That's okay. And this next game is against Stefan Fatsis. And so I was now 6 and 7, but they do the pairings 2 rounds in advance. So as a result of that, it was pairing me with Stefan when I was 5 and 7 because he I think was maybe 4 and 8 or similarly doing similarly in the tournament. And of course, he was just like, "What the hell is going on? Why am I playing you? Uh, like you should be playing like the best players." I was like, "Well, I did just play Kevin, but we're both having a pretty bad tournament." Um, and this is probably my worst played game of the tournament. I'm just warning you guys. It is not pretty. Stefan was first. He played Mirror. Um, I had a bunch of vowels and I decided to play Air Radio. Could also play Widia, but that's really dangerous. I saw Daemio as well. So I played Air Radio. Stefan played mainly for 22. And here I oh wait, hold on. Did he open I think he opened vertically. I don't know if he usually does that. Yeah, he opened vertically. Maybe he did that to please me, or maybe he normally does that. I don't remember. Um, I think this is what happened. Maybe I'm making this up. Um, so I have this rack here, and here I phony. But this was a purposeful phony. I didn't see any good plays. I didn't like any of these things. So I played Liatri, which is not a valid word. Um, the reason being there is a word Liatris or Liatris, um, which is valid, but it's a noun. So Liatris is valid. You can see right above me, but not Liatri. And I thought I would get away with this, and that if I didn't get away with it, he might have been giving me a letter to play through, like an M. I mean, he just blocked militate. He could give me litigate. A bunch of possibilities. So I thought this was a decent try, because it's so few points. It just seemed fine to phony here. So this wasn't that bad. This could have gone poorly. He could have challenged it off, not giving me the letter I want. And it's possible that the fact that he blocked militate sort of pushed me in this direction. Very often when your bingo gets blocked, you make a rash decision right afterwards. Like maybe you phony, maybe you just like fish too hard or something because you're upset, like subconsciously, that your bingo is blocked, or consciously. But Liachi was accepted. Um, and Stefan then played Thy for 20. And I had this rack, and I decided to play Bud for 26, opening a triple triple. But again, there's not really much to do here. I could play Doublet, that opens annoying stuff that I don't want to deal with. Bolted as well. There's no need to do that, I felt. So rather than opening the board, I decided to open a scoring spot. And of course he hits the triple, and he's ahead by 42. And I'm like, okay, this is not going so well, but I drew into this rack. And I immediately saw a bingo, and I started looking through the L, to see if there's something I was a bit more sure of, and I couldn't find anything. And I played the anagram of bolt hole, being the phony hellboot. Hellboot is, again, not a valid word. I did think that this was a word, but I wasn't totally sure. I had just studied all the 8-letter words, and I was pretty sure there was a word in these 8 letters, and I couldn't come up with anything other than hellboot. So hellboot was probably a word, but it's not. And again, I get away with this phony mainly because it's very hard to come up with this word. Like, if you're sitting across from me and I play hellboot, like, you're either like, okay, he's purposely phonying with this random word, or it's just a word. And so it was accepted, and interestingly, it's played in a position where an S hook is going to be very, very valuable. So hellboot is my play. Again, this is 2 phonies in a row. After I've been relatively clean for this tournament. So here, Stefan plays Civet 23 after considering playing it here. I think he laid it on the board, but I think he might not have liked the positioning as much. And yeah, again, I draw into a kind of weird rack, the same as like Liachi and Iradio. There's really not much to do in this position. But for some reason I just missed Carlin. Is that possible? I think I did miss this. Okay, we're back. I actually only played Hellboot for 70. I decided to not hang the S hook, even though it's a phony word. And that's what the confusion was about. Stefan played Civet, and I didn't have Carlin here. I played In, where I could have played Lane or Leon or Nane or Silane. I just didn't want to open this triple at all, this one row. There's no need for that. Keep things a bit tighter. Keep a decent leave. I thought that was the right approach here. Stefan plays Wept for 26. I draw AAE, which was definitely not welcome. I decide not to like purely fish here. Like, all the places to play AA are just not good. This is the only one that's like sensible, but that blocks the C, which I'm bingoing through a lot. If I'm playing AA, I want to bingo, so I don't want to block this C. So I play Al instead of Al out, because I thought I would be drawing more bingos from the L. And since the score was close, I thought the aggression was warranted. One of us was going to have to bingo at some point. Stefan plays Gig, and you can see this game after 13 moves. I've phonied twice, and Stefan's ahead 163 to 156. Extremely low scoring game. And yeah, I draw into a bingo of fanners, doesn't fit anywhere. I decide to play Fen rather than make a move like Feign or Fan, opening up triples again, keeping things a bit more restricted so that a bingo, if it does happen, doesn't totally kill the game for me. If Stefan bingos, that is. And Stefan draws the X, and he plays Ox for 27. He plays right here. Couldn't see that, so I had to ask Quackle where that was. And this is my rack. And here I played Crankers, which is my third phony of the game. And this one I was sort of like, am I sure this is valid? I don't know, but it seems like I should play it anyway. And it's not a word. It's so hard to challenge these words, especially when the score is close. Because if Stefan is wrong about this and Crankers is a word, I'm going to play on the one row and the game will probably be close to over. So instead of that, play is accepted and Stefan fights on. He plays up for 17, trying to open the board because he just happens to not have the letters to play on the one row, which is where the game starts to um, go poorly because I do have the letters to go there, and I play Zoom for 76, and just like that, I'm ahead 114 points. And here, Stefan hits me pretty hard with cojones. And when he put this on the board, I was like, oh my goodness. Is he going to see that he has jounces or juncos? Or is he just going to play this and not think any harder? And luckily for me, he didn't he didn't he didn't rethink his play and went for 93 instead of 103. Had he played for 103, the game is tied. I really thought the game was over after Zoom, but here, yeah, I would have been up like 10 points after Jounces or Junkos, which isn't a lot, um, especially since I didn't have anything here. I had Erasure on my rack, and nowhere to put it. Austere and Treasure was blocked by Cojones, which I noticed. So yeah, this is a huge turnaround, and there's a lot of scoring tiles in the bag. So this is kind of a tricky position. And I considered a lot of things here. I could play Raj for 20. But then I noticed that that gave back huge plays beneath the J. The big deal here was that there was a Q lurking, and I had a U, so I wasn't super worried. But even with the U, the Q is somewhat of a damper in the end game. It makes your options extremely limited. So the issue here was that um, Stefan could have a number of plays like just WO or DOW or some play underneath the cojones that was going to score pretty well. And for me to block it, I would be opening something up like something new up because there was another S out, so I couldn't make a play like row to set up my S because he could just have an S. Again, Raj falls victim to stuff like Fad or Wad. So like even just Fados would just totally end the game on the spot most of the time, unless it left him with an unplayable Q. But yeah, very complicated position where I decided to play off one letter AI to set up a spot to score for my R, which would be difficult to block. He does have maybe the F hook for FEH, and he could play a play down here, or he could play foul to the L for 30. So this wasn't without risks. Only scoring 2 points when I can score 12 or 17 might not seem so good. But yeah, I made this decision. I don't know how good it is. I would probably have to do some calculations to see how often it works because I mean this is a scoring spot, but what am I scoring there? 20 points? I don't have any scoring tiles. It was sort of a waiting move. And then Stefan plays cat, which was like, oh my God. I was just like, wow, this was so bad. I put down AI, he put down cat, and I'm like, I don't have an eye. Except I do have an eye. The tile I drew is an eye. So I got completely saved here because Stefan was going up by 1 point. And if I didn't have the eye, he was going to score here 33 points, maybe even 43 or 44 for id. 45, isn't it? Yeah. He has ID for 45. It's very hard to come back from that. I would have to make a long play and score over 2 turns and go out. So extremely lucky draw of the eye. Had I just thought, where, if he has the Q, where is he going? QAT, okay. Maybe I should do something about that, like play RUE or problem with RUE is if I draw the Q, I'm stuck with it. So still very complicated position, but had I thought about this possibility, I probably would not have played AI with such confidence. But extremely lucky for me, I draw the eye, I drop it, and I draw a bingo of ureters, or ureters, I don't actually know how to pronounce English words, which I don't see, but Stefan sees it and starts agonizing and decides to just block it with FEH. Not seeing any better way to do that. But yeah, I end up seeing my bingo, so I would have played it if he hadn't blocked it, but it took me a long time. Here I make a play that isn't even on the analysis here. Let's see what this is. The best end game. I didn't play this. I was trying to block woes for 37. Okay, so this would end up winning by 49. The play I made rut gave him voids. And I go out and I win by 33. So yeah, this is a 16-point mistake. Just because I missed the play of voids. I thought that this blocked WOS, so it was good. I just didn't see a 5-letter word that Stefan had on his rack of voids. And luckily, neither did he. Played vows. I was like, what is going on? This game was just so bad on so many levels. And I go out and I win 394 to 355. And yeah, what to say? This game was just a complete disaster. Any of the phonies I played could have been challenged off the board. I played these 3 phonies, and yeah, luckily Stefan made some plays, could have gone a bit better. Like Jounces would have been a completely different story. And of course, extremely lucky for me that I drew the eye. If I hadn't drawn the eye on a 1-tile draw, cat would have just been very, very hard to meet. And yeah, just totally horrible game by me, and very lucky to get away with the win. So yeah, maybe the descent into madness is starting. The past games before this one, I was pretty happy with how I was playing. But yeah, we'll see for rounds 15 and onward if I can maintain that, because things um get very, very messy, I think, in the next few rounds, if I remember correctly. So yeah, thanks for watching. Um, and I'll see you guys next time.